Hi, how are you? My name is Mike Kipkorir. I am the team leader at the CBC app, and I wanted to very quickly present to you our new end of term report, the features it has, and the ways in which we feel it could benefit you as a school. Okay, so let me get straight into it. So, if you can see my screen here, this is the report. I'm quickly scrolling through it, but I'll come back to explain each part. Okay. The way the report is now is you have a cover page which is optional. Everything you see on the cover page is optional. You can add, remove any of these things, or even not have the cover page at all. Okay, we have an overall section of the report, so we are calling it the overall report. Let me zoom in a bit. Okay, where you get to see all sorts of things, and I'm coming back to this. Then you also have the summative assessment report area, and you have the formative assessment report area as well, and then the detailed formative assessment report area. Okay, so all that is there. So if you've used these reports before, this might be familiar to you, but I would like to talk you through this overall page in particular. You are familiar, if I can try and draw your attention, you're familiar with the way you can report on formative assessments. So for everything that has been learned through the term, you can report on all the formative assessments. You can also have the summative assessments there. And with the CBC app, you can compare these things side by side. You see beforehand, you had your summative assessments here the usual way. Okay, and then you had your formative assessments, which allow me to show you, which a lot of the times you used to keep them in recorded elements, books like this. You used to record in books like this. Okay, but of course, with the app, this process is now simplified. And the point that I'm trying to make to you about this page is that side by side, you can have your formative assessments and summative assessments compared for every learner, like Samuel here, and in every learning area, like mathematics here. Okay, you can have the two compared side by side, and you can do this for all the learning areas. Now, the most critical change that has happened with this release of ours is the combined performance level that we can now calculate as a result of having formative assessment data and summative assessment data. So you see, the way we've combined them here is if you look at the regulations by NEC, I think I have a document here. If you look at this regulations by the National Exam Council, maybe zoom in a bit. Okay, they talk about all sorts of things, but then there's the whole idea of school-based assessments accounting for 60% of the total score, while the remaining 40% will be by neck. Of course, I also see in the newspaper right now that some changes will happen because of this presidential working team, but that has not been fully announced yet. Once it's announced, all these changes can happen. But in the meantime, it is now possible for you to have a combined score. So that, for example, you can say in music, this learner has attained 2.0 or approaching expectations, or has attained 3.1 in Kiswahili, meeting expectations. Okay, that is now a possibility because you can now take 20, 60% of this formative assessment score and 40% of this summative assessment score to come up with this 3.1, meeting expectations in Kiswahili. Okay, so that really is the key difference that I wanted to highlight to you, and it's a very useful way of reporting about our kids. So, meaning, as usual, you can configure this report the way you want. You can decide not to show. Let me change the color here. You can decide not to show this entire formative column. You can decide not to show this entire summative column and only show the combined column. Okay, it's possible to do that only. But the key message that I really wanted to pass here is this formative assessment column and summative assessment column can now be put together into a combined area. The significance of which being we can truly report on a learner's competencies now, as per the way the curriculum is set up. Okay. Of course, other things that I can show you in the report. Let me change the color here is we now have explanations like for parents. Parents can now read these explanations a lot easier. Okay, they can now see what formative assessment means, what summative assessment means. Parents also get a very good description of the performance levels. This, by the way, we just used what is in the National Exam Council documents, the ones they release for the grade 6 exams. They use this kind of descriptions for the performance levels. So we made it consistent in that regard so that it's clear to parents. So a parent will know, for example, a child approaching expectations displays this knowledge, skills, and attitude some of the times. Okay, so that is also available. And if you don't want, as usual, just like anything in this app of ours, you can make sure this is not in your report if you don't want. In fact, you can remove this part only. No, sorry, you can remove this part only, or you remove the entire thing. Okay, so very flexible and configurable. The other part of the report I can show you is comments. Let me use green here. You can have your class teacher comments, you can have your head teacher comments, you can have comments by somebody else coming down here below as well. And for everybody, you can have the name and you can have the signature done over there. All that is flexibly done. You can also have this important information uh, depending on how you want it as a school. So for this overall page, the thing where I really wanted to draw your attention is on this column here of combined performance level, which I really feel is a useful thing that maybe can assist you to better report in ways that do make sense, and also for it to make sense with all the efforts that we are doing around keeping of formative assessment records. The other page is this summative assessment page. Now, with the change we've made is you can have marks, okay, in each of these learning areas displayed. Of course, even if the marks are complicated, even if it's like out of 23 and things like those, you can have it displayed and it automatically has it converted to the percentage. As usual, if you don't want to display the percentage, that can be removed. You can only display the performance level if you want. Okay, so if you're familiar once again with these reports, you'll know that is a possibility. You have your total marks configured, your average score. In this particular report I'm showing you, we have not yet configured the class position, the overall position. We've not configured all that. But then you can also have all this comparative information about what's the class average, marks, what's the mean score of the class, what's the overall for the entire grade, what's the average for the entire grade. You can have all those things in the report as well, and all that is there. For the formative assessment report, once again, a description is there. We've simply added a summary here at the end so that you can get the performance level summary at the end, as well as the total number of assessments done. And as usual, you get an auto-generated set of texts here that can make it work as well. Yeah. And then over here is just the details as usual of which substrand was done, which activity, and where exactly the performance level was. Okay. So, and to keep it there, um, but just a quick walkthrough. And once again, the focus of my making this video was to bring you to this first page here, where we now have that combined performance level column. We're very keen to get feedback from you and to see how this works well for you, how this works for your school. Thank you.